what we need to kind of bear in mind as well is that essentially what we're doing is we are trying to kind of balance or weight like opposing influences. So it's not a kind of a cut and dried case of like, oh yes, definitely Bitcoin's going to go up and that's all that I see in the chart. It's a case of kind of weighing up the probabilities, and there are some kind of signs that we do need to kind of take into consideration, and that is the Gann cycles, which do point to possibly a crash around about 2023. But we do have to bear in mind, as I say, that in terms of the Gann cycle, that we're moving from this euphoria in 2022 to a crash possibly in 2023. You can see decline here, and you can see previous periods where we've had declines in the Gann cycle, along this point. I mean, it's interesting that the bubble here coincides with periods like 1928, 1929. So it's not a case of, there is no kind of correlation. Usually before a crash there is a huge bubble, but it usually bursts in the autumn. It usually bursts around about September or October. You get your euphoric high and then you start to get a decline in the market. So I do think that the earliest that we could move into a recession would be the autumn of 2022. But as I say, we do have to bear in mind that cycles might be getting longer, and that there are people out there, large players who can manipulate the market if they so desire. So, we also have to take those factors into consideration, that it's not a clear-cut thing. I just want to mention this too. I do follow the work of the analyst Alessio Rostani, and he's quite big into Elliot Wave Theory. And a couple of weeks ago, he did a timeline for when he thought that there might be a major Wall Street crash based on the work of Robert Prechter, who is very much into using Elliot Wave Theory to predict like crowd psychology. And so this is a timeline based on Elliot waves, it's kind of macro Elliot waves. So Elliot waves tend to move in, you get like 5 up waves, and then you tend to get a 3-wave correction. So we can see here that we've in terms of the macro cycle, we've moved from 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of 5, which he kind of puts the sort of euphoric bull market kind of peaking in around about exactly the time that I'm talking about, so the autumn of 2022 into the summer possibly of 2023, that he thinks we're still in this wave 5, which is still kind of the last kind of euphoric move upwards, and that we will probably only have a crash leading to a prolonged bear market from the autumn of 2022 2023. So for me this kind of corroborates first of all the Gann cycle, and secondly what Ken Stanfield is saying about Bitcoin, and thirdly the astrology, which, as I say, it still has room to run. So yes, this is a kind of a pictorial version of the same thing where he's talking about this Elliott wave. So it went up to 1929, and then there was a correction, then it went up again until about 2000 when we had the dot-com crash, then we had a kind of mini correction into 2008 2009, which did last quite a long time. It was like 10 years or so, but then we kind of in this upward trajectory here as far as Robert Prechter is concerned, and as I say, it does only peak in the autumn of 2022. So I think there is still some room to run in this bull market.